Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? This is Kevin Anglad, and you are now tuning in to the Wise Guys Podcast, brought to you by Flowered Concrete. Check it out.
Yo, 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 what's going on? What's going on? Once again, we're back. This is your boy, Kevin Anglad.
And this is Mark Cruden.
And we are the Wise Guys Podcast, back for yet another week, episode 6. Yep. Mark, it's been a week once again since I've last spoken to you. How you doing, bro? How's everything? What's been going on with you in your life right now?
Everything's beautiful, man. Same old thing, just grinding, man. Grinding, investing, doing my thing. But everything's looking positive. How about you?
I love it, man. I love it. Everything's been going good, man. I really can't complain. Just chilling, working hard, pushing, had a job interview yesterday, so really excited about that and what can possibly come of it. But I don't want to jinx it, so I'm going to hopefully wait until a future episode of the podcast if I get the job to kind of give you a little bit more of a spiel on it, But other than that, man, week's been good. I'm alive, can't complain,
Absolutely, bro. I know you did great on the interview, so got to speak it into existence.
Absolutely, man. Thanks, brother. Cool. So, Mark, to the wise community out there, today is episode 6, The Ambitious Life of Women. All right, The Ambitious Life of Women. Mark and I talked about it towards the end of last week's episode, but we wanted to make sure that we brought this episode to life today with a bang. All right, The Ambitious Life of Women. So, Mark, we are joined today by 2 special guests. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, these 2 young women coming onto the podcast today, they are very special to me. They are close friends of mine. It's funny because, Mark, I met these 2 lovely women back in 2018 when I went abroad for this teaching program called LRTT. It stands for Limited Resources Teacher Training. This was in Ghana, right? And so we were out there basically coaching the Ghanaian teachers and providing instructional feedback, and as well as providing them with plans on how to go about educating their students within the context. So the whole thing about it was not only were we coaching them, but the whole point of it was for us also to see their pedagogy in action and to also take something back to the States as well. So the program itself was geared towards equitable exchange. And I had many conversations with these 2 lovely women that I thought, well, not only did I think would be great on this podcast, but just having those conversations with them, I knew that it would just the strength of the conversations would just last a lifetime. And even I would say my friendship with them, I hope, continues to push forward and last a lifetime. And what I'm so happy about is the fact that I haven't seen them since I've gone to Ghana, but even though, we rarely talk, they're still very close to me. I hope I'm still very close to them, and they mean everything to me. They're so near and dear within my heart. I consider them to be some of my closest friends, really, in my top 10 closest friends, and I've only seen them one time. And that one time I seen them, yeah, man, and that one time I seen them, I spent 3 weeks abroad with them, and I got to know them as in and out as I possibly could. And I love them. They're older than me, so I love them like older sisters, and I appreciate them. So enough of me talking. I'd like to welcome on to the show my 2 lovely sisters and fellow LRTT alums, Anais Booker and Theresa Harrison. Hello, ladies. Good evening. How y'all doing?
Good evening. Hello.
So happy to have y'all on board. How do you both feel about being on the podcast? I know we've been previewing it a lot.
My nerves are on the edge of my arms, but I'm excited.
Yes.
To say the least.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited. This sounds like an incredible topic, so I'm excited to dig in.
Absolutely. So we don't want to have the people waiting too long, we kind of want to delve into the topic right away. But before we do, Anais, I'll start off with you, and then Theresa, you can then go on after. Could you both give the WISE community out there, the audience of listeners, a 30-second pitched synopsis of who you are, what you do, and all that jazz?
So I'm Anais Booker. I'm a Denverite at heart, a Colorado girl, but I am a local resident of Chicago, good old Windy City. I am a high school educator. I teach 9th through 12th PE and health education. I'm also a yogi and a Jacqueline of many trades and an upcoming entrepreneur. Yep, I like long walks in the park and on the beach to read.
Excellent. And Theresa.
Okay. I am Theresa Harrison. I am from the state of Ohio, born and raised here. I currently teach in the Akron Public School System. I teach elementary school K to 2, students with special needs. So most of my students have autism or cerebral palsy or something like that. I'm a student at heart, so I am a teacher. I believe that I'll be a lifelong learner, and I'm excited to be here today.
Excellent, excellent. We're so happy to have you. And for those of you out there listening to the podcast and that are from the Akron, Ohio area, Teresa's just kind of just like, just saying what she does and just being all cool and calm with it. But come on, man. Shout out to Akron, man. Home of Braun, man. Come on. You got to put that out there.
Yes, Akron.
Gotta love Akron.
LeBron James.
Yes. But
There's real estate out there for sure.
And Theresa, if you don't mind me asking, work in Akron Public Schools, but originally from Cleveland, right? Born and raised?
That's true. Born and raised in Cleveland, a graduate of Cleveland Public Schools as well.
Excellent. All right, well, ladies, once again, Mark and I are so happy to have you on the show, and we're going to dub you and christen you today as Wise Gals, all right? We have some wise gals in the house tonight. So for this episode, The Ambitious Life of Women, I want to start off with the first segment. The first segment is Women in the Workplace, all right? Women in the Workplace. And I hear you guys giggling over there. So with this topic, Mark, if you don't mind, I definitely want to get the women going. And then after they speak, I would love for you to respond to them if that's okay. And then if I have any more time, I'll contribute. But women in the workplace. So my first question to you ladies is, are men having a hard time collaborating with or working with women in the workplace? I'll ask it one more time. Are men having a hard time collaborating with or working for women? Excuse me, that's what I forgot to add, the for women part. For women in the workplace. So obviously that's a binary question, right? So are they having a hard time collaborating with women in terms of, whether they're both CEOs or they both hold huge stakes in the company, or whether a man is of a lower level in a lower position. So are men having a hard time collaborating or working for women in the workplace?
So I'll go first. It's Anais again. Hi. In my personal experience, I don't believe so. I have two men. So I'm a department chair. I guess that's the rest of the stuff comes out as you go. So I'm the department chair of PE at my school, and I have two men. I don't like to say that they work under me. I have two teammates that are men and one additional female. But my teammates are exactly that. They work very well with each other, getting things done for me. I do not micromanage them. They're very self-independent. Unless there's just something I don't realize, maybe they're too comfortable working under a woman, because I also am pretty big on taking care of stuff. And when I think about the other men that are in my building, I don't know if it's because they're educators, so that, they're the minority regardless. There's only about 3 brothers in my school that teach out of those men that are there, that handful of them. I'll say probably about 10% of our staff are men. But we seem to, I don't want to say coexist, but it doesn't have to be a bad word, but I believe that we all work very well together, and their positions I don't think they feel, lesser than, or, as if something is wrong with them being, under women who are mostly, our mid-level managers and our management is mostly female as well.
Okay. Theresa, yourself?
So, similarly, in the school I'm at now, there are 0 male teachers, so pretty much the minority. I have worked with male teachers in the past, never as their quote-unquote leader or someone in charge, but I haven't had too many difficulties having men in the workplace collaborate. And I think, to piggyback on what Anais said, I think is because education tends to bring a certain type of youth to the field. People who are interested in children and the future, and people who tend to be more helpful, and not necessarily the sharks of the world, if that makes sense. So I think it's a very unique kind of segment when we say workplace. I think education is very unique. So I wouldn't say that there aren't workplaces in general, where men are having trouble adjusting to a female boss or collaborating with females where they're equal. But I just can't say that I have too many of those negative experiences or hurdles that I've had to jump over so far in my career.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Mark, what are your thoughts, bro?
Definitely. I mean, I agree with both of them, because it's a bit difficult when you ask that question to 2 people of the same profession, because, in that sector, most teachers are women, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I think the answer is it depends. It depends on what it is. So in the workplace of a teacher, it may not be an issue, but, if I'm an MBA coach and there's a woman that's an assistant coach, maybe she faces a bit of discrimination. The players may say, wait, are you sure you know how to, show me how to play basketball? They're going to question it. So I think it definitely depends on what we're talking about here. If we're in construction, it's going to be like, oh, do you need help with that? Do you need help carrying that? So it really does depend on what sector of work it is.
Interesting.
So I guess those male-dominated fields, there would always be a problem. And the fields where it's a nice balance or it's majority women, there wouldn't be a problem.
Interesting.
So that's
I do have an example, actually.
Oh, sure thing.
It's not work, but I don't know. As he was talking, it made me think about it. So I'm a softball coach at the high school. I'm the head coach, and then I have an assistant coach. I'm more so logistics. He's more so the actual game of it and what have you, but nobody knows that until you talk to us and I actually say it. So what happens very often is when we get to games, the referees, they always head straight to him. And really, they're supposed to check with me first. And so when I started shaking hands and talking, they're like, "Hi, and who are you?" I'm like, "I'm the coach." They're like, "Oh, you're the coach?" I'm like, "Yeah." I don't know if that's because I'm a woman, but they always go straight to him first. It could be because he's Hispanic. I have no clue because predominantly my team, there's only like one black girl on my team every year, and all the rest of my girls are Latina. But between male and maybe skin color, they always look at me like, "Oh snap, wait, that's you." "Oh yes, that is me. I'm the head coach."
Right.
There's that.
I agree with that.
Sure. The field definitely makes a difference. I agree, Mark.
Because I would be guilty of that myself if I was a ref. We all have faults. I would probably go to the gentleman and say, "Hey, so you're the coach." So I would probably have fell into that same way of thinking, which isn't the right way to think, but it's just because we're so accustomed to seeing male head coaches, we just wouldn't automatically think, okay, well, let me see if, she's the head coach. It's just like what we're accustomed to. So it's definitely something that we will eventually work out as, a female head coach becomes more prevalent in society.
Yeah. So I came across.
We have to say, do women like basketball? Like, there's not a large percentage of women that like basketball compared to men. So I can see how, it could be tough. Yeah. So it's a tough one.
That is true. I mean, whenever I tune into Whenever I come across, I don't tune in, but I'll be honest, I do not tune in. But whenever I come across the WNBA games, those seats seem pretty empty compared to the NBA, especially in the playoffs and the championships. Sorry. Women out there, please do not crucify me. I do not mean anything in regards to this. Please, I'm not being sexist, but I'm just calling out a mere fact. Am I wrong? That is a fact. Like the seats are empty, and if you even check out the ratings, like the national television ratings on ESPN, TNT, all those big time prime time networks, it has been proven statistically that men and people in general are tuning in more to the National Basketball Association games of the men than as opposed to the women's game. It's just a true fact.
Oh, no, it's very true.
So.
Don't get me started on what they get paid.
Well, that's a tough one.
Actually, yeah. Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
The NBA brings in a lot more revenue than the WNBA, so we can't expect equal pay in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be equal. Fair and equal don't necessarily mean the same thing. So at what point do we then start actually promoting the women's game? Half the people, I didn't even know. I lived in Chicago since 2014. I used to live here in 2009 to 2010. I did not know there was a women's WNBA team until this year. I played basketball for 12 years. I have a record at my high school that's 15 years old for how many three-pointers I shot in a game. I love ball. Ball was life once upon a time. I didn't even know my own city had a team. And so ever since then, I'm like, well, sure, I got to support these women. So when do we promote them? A woman that is a vet in the WNBA at max, supposedly, statistically, if you look this up, makes about $70,000 a year. $70,000. We can't just do promotion so the sister can at least hit six figures. Maybe she's in the millionaire, but six figures is nice. Yeah,
but people still have to go to the game, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I feel like
they gotta know they exist to go.
Like, I don't know anyone that doesn't know the WNBA doesn't exist. So that's a tough
like the teams, right? It is a tough one because you're right. You know, there's more factors to it. Because yes, the NBA definitely is bringing in the money, but then it just comes to things about, like I said, making it known. You'd be amazed how many people just don't know that it exists. It's like, oh snap! If I knew, I'd probably go. Then you're combating with what they might, but they gotta know.
Right. But here's the thing about that. Most WNBA teams aren't even profitable. The NBA actually subsidizes the WNBA so they can keep their doors open, so they may not have the budget to market it.
So why don't the NBA do it then?
They're already subsidized.
We got two other segments. I don't know. I'm not going to argue. I don't want to argue.
Oh, no, you can argue.
Well, no, because I'm saying, so that athletes, and here's the thing, is because I'm also a teacher, and we ain't going to get into my paycheck. The fact that the athletes make the money that they make, and the educators that help make these people, whether it was because of something negative or positive that they said to motivate them to get there, came from a person who was not getting paid a tenth of what those people are making, and he can't help the sisters out in the WNBA. They're still going out there doing the same thing. Again, I'm not just saying we should give money away, but there's a lot to it.
Yeah, that's a tough one because
it is.
We want equality, but you're asking for help. So at what point does it become a level playing field where we just see what value they can receive in the marketplace?
Indeed.
So the help thing is now we're taking the balance and we're shifting it in order to compensate for something. So that's where it becomes not equal. It's like, oh, let's go to, you know, the poorer communities and let's give them the same salary as someone, you know, of wealth. That's not fair, you know.
But see how you use the word fair, and that's why I said I don't want to get in trouble with a bunch of women and have your women audience all pissed off at me. It's not that I don't believe in equality, but I think you have to be careful with the word equal, because equal now we're getting into, like, again, like what that person is doing. Are you actually doing enough to get equal? And so that's I think where the stakes really kick in, but that's why I said fair. I don't think those women are being paid fairly. I can't say that they can be paid equivalently because there are other things at play logistically, ticket sales, people who are actually showing up. You start adding those in, but fair. I want to know if those numbers are actually fair numbers. They might not be equal. Poor people.
I can understand that.
Equal, but are poor people being paid fairly and sufficiently?
That's a part. You're right. that minimum wage is a problem, and it's not a livable wage. So I could totally agree with that. So the word fair is the important word. Yeah. Absolutely.
Can I add to this conversation if you both don't mind? It's interesting that you both say this because I was looking up numbers after I came across this interview the other day on YouTube. It was LeBron James's business partner, his guy Maverick Carter, with his show Uninterrupted, and he was interviewing Los Angeles Sparks WNBA superstar Candace Parker about her time in the league, and not even just her success and time in the league, but also her business ventures and her success off the court financially. And he was asking her, how did she find herself, being fiscally aware of her situation and in terms of not having equal pay in regards to the men, and as well as how did she go about navigating and just going on a journey where she wanted to not only make a salary but also be profitable in terms of her brand, and as well as sustain herself financially so that way she could support her family. And she said that the WNBA has been great to me. I've always appreciated playing, within the WNBA, and it's an honor to, represent Los Angeles every single day that I go out there and I play hard. But she also said that as of 2014, 2015, she started realizing that, man, okay, so my agent gets this percentage and my manager gets this percentage, this person gets this percentage of my endorsements and all this other stuff. So what am I really left with? So as of that year, she started taking every off season to play for professional teams overseas. So now you have this trend where a lot of female athletes, especially within the sport of basketball, they're spending their summer times not only working out and preparing for the season, but and also since the season is so short for women, I think the WNBA starts in like July, August, and it ends in October. I think that's a disgrace to them in regards to the amount of money too. So if you're going to add in regards to the salary, you have to also add the amount of games that they play too, right? So now these women are not only not getting the money they deserve, but now they're going overseas between the months of like March to April or May to make up the amount of money that they wouldn't have during the regular season within the WNBA. I just thought I'd like to add that and contribute that, but I don't know what you all think on that.
They sound like teachers.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people with a second job. You know what I mean?
Right. They do sound like teachers. Theresa, I haven't heard you in a while. You want to talk about that a little bit? What do you think in regards to me just saying that and the fact that Candace Parker has it's not an option for her, she has to go overseas, or other female players have to go do that in order to obtain some kind of financial stability or comfortability within their lifestyle?
Yeah, I was saying that it sounds exactly like teachers, to tie it back to people not receiving a fair income, because most educators I know have a side hustle or a summer job or work over holidays to supplement their income because they aren't paid enough to live a comfortable life. So I didn't see that interview with Candace Parker, but it makes perfect sense that she would have to use what should be her time to rest and recover and get ready for the next season, trying to earn money just to stay afloat. So it's kind of the way, it just kind of shows that the discrepancies are still there with women, and that women in a lot of areas are true minorities. So.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
Anyone want to add and contribute a little more to that before I pose my next question?
Yeah, sure. I could add something.
Sure.
Because out of all the research I've done and the people I've spoken with, when it comes to your wage, they always say your wage or your salary is a representation of the value you bring to the marketplace. So let's say you're a teacher. The marketplace is saying they don't value teachers. That's what the marketplace says. So if we're going to complain about the salary of a teacher, maybe that person shouldn't have chosen that field. But if it's their passion, that's the sacrifice they have to make. If teaching is the passion, you're going to know the salary may not be that high. So I'm going to sacrifice the salary to make an impact on the kids. But you can't accept the salary and then complain, because we know what teachers get paid. So it's like we can't, it's like we accept it, but then we're like, I hate this, but it's like you knew that when you know went to school for that it was going to be that way. So it's a tough one. It's really a tough one.
We can tell in society with that. Well, Theresa, go ahead, because I talk a lot. Go ahead.
No, no, I like that you talk a lot. You're fine. I was just going to disagree a little bit. I think that you can have a calling that you're passionate about, you know, give 100% to it, and still be upset that you don't earn enough. That what you earn is not fair. And of course, you deal with it. You know, you
Right.
don't quit your passion or walk away from it, but you can still look at the facts and look at the impact you make and make an assessment that, you know, your salary is not, you know, it's just not what it should be. It's not what it could be if it was, like you said, something that's valued, you know, by the people who set the salary. So
Right.
I think you can have both. I think you can both, you know, be in your passion 100%, love it, and be determined to do it until you retire, and also be dissatisfied with the amount of
Oh
money
yes.
that you bring in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because we're all human, so we're gonna still complain. But sacrifice is never easy. So we know we're making a
Correct.
sacrifice to be an educator. But while we're making a sacrifice, we're like, man, I really hate the way they're paying me. So it makes a lot of sense. We're human at the end of the day. We can't just suck it up for the whole 40 years. So I totally understand.
Yeah.
And I think too, in addition, I think it's a U.S. issue. Other countries don't treat their teachers so poorly. I taught for 2 years in the United Arab Emirates, and I made almost double the salary I make here in the States. I think it's a U.S. issue. Other countries, I believe it's France, but please don't quote me. I'm actually quoting myself. This is a podcast, I forgot. But I believe one of the countries you work, I'm just quoting myself. You work 10 years, then you get a year off. You work 10 years, you get a year off. And during that year, you take professional development, you reignite your passion, you remember why you became an educator. And it's paid. It's a year with pay. And, you know, lots of other places take care of their teachers. They value and respect their teachers. I think it's a U.S. issue, just so we're clear. I don't think that the world, primarily, I don't think the world in general devalues teachers or education.
Yeah. I think that's even just in the classroom. Me, Kevin, and Theresa can all speak to the international education experience. When you walk into a classroom, like, the teacher is the most important person. You stand up, like, those students stand up.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Salute, just, good morning, baby. Like, and they're just like, good morning, madam. Like,
good morning, madam.
The teacher is with LIPC the year before. And in India, they are the same way. The teacher, if you disrespect the teacher, those parents, they don't come checking on the kids first. They come check on you because it's like, how dare you treat this person like this? And just like the connotation we have around educators in general, it's very different. Very, very different from start to finish. Whether it's, we can talk about being a teacher. There was one young lady in our program, my master's program, and her parents were upset because they were like, you know, she's 6'3", she should go to med school. And she's like, well, I want to be a teacher. And they're like, no, you have every skill to be a doctor. How dare you want to be a teacher? And it's like, she's the mind that we need in the classroom. Like, don't downplay her. Like, yes, she could be a doctor, but we want a doctor's mind educating our kids. Like that. Who else do you want teaching your kids? Because then you're going to be livid if we just pick up somebody off the street. You know, now you're mad.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting dynamic.
I could agree with that because, like, the parents, they're just saying, you know, they're not going to pay you adequately. Do not enter that field. Right. They're kind of looking out for the financial aspect. But it's just like when it comes to America, it was very interesting that it was brought up that in different countries they pay the teachers more. Very interesting because with America, we have more people in prison, you know, as a percentage of the population to any other country. And if we really dig deeper, you know, the private prison industry is a very profitable industry, and that's something that, they have to kind of manipulate the education system to produce more prisoners. So at the same time, one could say that they purposely do not pay the teachers adequately so that they can receive very low quality teachers, and keep the school to prison pipeline going.
Wow. I never thought about that, Mark.
That's a thought, right?
Yeah.
That is very nice.
Wow.
Also very true.
It's all strategy, and it makes sense. So maybe it's by design and it's going exactly as planned. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, I usually say that. I usually always say that the system isn't broken. I always say that the system is working exactly as it's intended to, for sure.
There is no coincidence in this world. Everything is by design. Everything is intentional.
Absolutely.
So if everything you're complaining about was put in place for a reason. Excellent. It's just not a reason that helps you.
Right.
So.
Right.
So, wow. This conversation is off to a hot start. I love it. Yeah. So, ladies and Mark, so I came across an article on Black Enterprise, and so the article on Black Enterprise was focusing on the story of Nicole Cutts. She's a PhD, Nicole Cutts, and the title of the article is called "Black Women: Let Go of Fear as Well as Your Own Power." All right, and so within this article, the question that was let me go back a bit. Nicole Cutts, PhD, she's a licensed clinical psychologist and a success coach, and as well as an organizational consultant, who empowers clients to achieve more balanced and successful lives in their multifaceted practice. So check this out, right? So the question that was posed here on the article was, in your work, what have you found to be the major internal roadblock women face in achieving success? Again, in your work, what have you found to be the major internal roadblock women face in achieving success? And within the article itself, Nicole Cutts wrote that the biggest internal roadblock women face when on the path to success is the fear of their own power. Do you agree with that? What do you think, ladies?
Fear of their own power.
My answer is yes. I'm struggling with that now. I also call it more of a fear of success, which is strange because I don't feel like those words are supposed to go together. For me, this won't be a long response because I'm still exploring this. I'm still trying to navigate this actively as we speak. I love teaching. I love my school. It's still, on some days it's a job, so I'm like, I hate this place, I can't stand it, these kids, these adults at work, whatever. But I love where I am, and I'm grateful for where I am. But I also know that I'm moving in a space where I have the desire to work for myself and start, my own programs and restorative justice opportunities through yoga and meditation. I have goals, but it's really hard for me to work towards those because fear is very real, and it's what happens when you get there? And whereas I should embrace it, I'm trying to embrace it, but I'm it's like the stove is hot. Imagine you were supposed to touch the stove. I'm but I know it's hot. I know what's so happening, but I don't. And that's just fear of the unknown. So I'm leaning in to get some of the heat. It's I don't want to touch that. I don't know. So I'm gonna leave my response there and let other people talk for a bit.
Well, when I think of Black women in general and being afraid of our own power, that's very accurate, number one. But I think it's a really big reason why, at least for me, there's been several examples. Which I wonder if I know what you're going to say. Go ahead. So there's just so many times, whether it be in my career, my personal life, family, where I will need to make a stance or stand up for myself or be dominant or make a point that I know is correct. 100%. I have the evidence, the data. I'm correct. And I will struggle with this gripping fear. And I realize through lots of therapy and support over the years that it's because I've never felt supported as a Black woman and my family. I've always felt when I take stances like that I'm very alone. And so in the workplace or in a family situation, it could be very isolating to kind of show your power or embrace your power or be dominant if you feel like ultimately it means that you're going to be standing alone. You're going to have to defend yourself. Right. And I think that's a big issue. It has been for me, and I know for other Black women, that we don't feel protected. And so when you are a person who doesn't feel protected, it is incredibly scary to embrace your power and stand up for yourself, because we're already perceived as being super independent anyway. So it's like, even when you're trying to, kind of be feminine and be supportive and embrace all those wonderful godlike female qualities that we have, even in those moments, we just get labeled so quickly.
Yeah.
We get labeled as being a bitch, or being too headstrong, or being a man-eater. It's just power has never been accepted outside of us, from Black women. Like, people outside of us don't accept the power from us, so of course we're afraid of it, because it puts us in this category that I personally just don't want to be in. So
Right.
I think she's right. I definitely struggle, and I'm learning how to find my voice and, sing the listen song that Beyonce sang in Dreamgirls and make everybody listen and have my voice and my opinion. But it's isolating, and it's lonely and scary sometimes.
Yeah.
I think it makes it hard to also find what your power as a Black woman what it actually looks like, because this is where you talk about this might be some off her point, but some things that I heard her say triggered some other thoughts, and it's like, because we have those labels, it's like I have to water myself down at work so that I don't hurt feelings, because a Black woman is loud and aggressive, and she says what she wants, and if I say the exact same thing as another woman in my building, it doesn't sound the same. And so it's like, okay, so is it actually my power, or is it me coming to Susie and saying it different for Susie so that it can still be palatable and still be And in that case, that's not necessarily my power. I have to change myself. I have to adjust. I have to gentrify my being and what my power looks like so that it is acceptable. In which case, I do not take ownership of this said power, and I'm terrified to be myself. So yeah, no, I agree with that. Definitely hit a nail with that. Come on, gentlemen.
Marky Mark.
No, I definitely agree with both of you guys. It's true, because the Black woman, I'd say, is, first of all, beautiful and wonderful. I respect the Black woman. We can sometimes label Black women as expressive. Let's use that word. So very expressive. No, and this is a good thing. And this is a good
that was
thing.
a safe word.
No, it was a great safe word. That's why I'm laughing.
It's a good thing. Very expressive. So when you're upset, the volume goes up a bit. The hand movement, arm movement, it can sometimes, people may be intimidated by it. And even if you don't go full blown, hand movement, high volume, they're expecting it. They're saying, she's boiling right now. It's coming. So I feel like when you're expecting it, you begin to see things before they actually do it. So when you say something, in their mind, the volume is times 10. So it's almost as if you're, labeled, or, basically, labeled before they actually get to know you. And they're expecting you to blow up eventually. Even when you have your, your professional demeanor on, because everybody puts on, that professional, we do it, Kevin.
All the time.
So it's like, they know we're code switching. They're just wondering when it's going to blow up. So I feel like they tend to look at us that way, and it's like, everything's great while you're acting like this, but I know one day you might switch up, and we'll get to see the real you. So it's interesting. It's interesting, and I hate to say, like, we experience it too, because I hate when I'm talking about something and someone says, that happens to me too. So I'm just gonna leave it, on the side of women, but. It is something that us as Black people experience, but I feel like you guys get it 10 times worse, because we're Black, you're Black, of course, and then you're a woman. So they tend to really put a double label on our women. So it's very tough.
Absolutely,
very tough.
absolutely. I'd like to take this moment right now to transition and segue into our next segment of the show this evening, which is women and dating / marriage. All right, again, women and dating / marriage. So first and foremost, I want to make my co-host comfortable. Mark, it's not going to be all mushy gushy and stuff like that. There's a business approach to this too.
Cool.
So so I'm going to need definitely your expertise on this for sure. Okay, so I'm going to hit you guys with a couple of facts and a question, and I would love for you all to respond. Mark, I actually would love to hear what you would have to say first on this, because I definitely want to get your business mindset in regards to this. And then, ladies, you both can keep the order as is, and answer the question as necessary. So again, I'm gonna hit you with the question first, everyone, and then after I hit you with the question, I'm gonna give you guys some numbers, some stats. Yeah, this week, I put in some work. I took some stats down. I was like, let me be a statistician. Let me make sure I have numbers, before the people listening to the podcast in the wise community are like, he don't know what he talking about. That's not right. Cite your sources. Cite your sources. All right. So here's the question. Are black men afraid and intimidated by a black woman's success, whether in work, spirituality, or in any other sectors? Are black men afraid and intimidated by a woman's success? I'll even ask that question in regards to finding interest in her and wanting to court and date her. Are black men afraid of a woman's success? So now, according to the National Center for Education, the statistics show that black women earn 68% of associate's degrees, 66% of bachelor's degrees, 71% of master's degrees, and 65% of doctorate degrees. This is from the National Center of Education Statistics. And in another article, and within The Guardian, a woman by the name of Dream McClinton says that black women in the U.S. are marrying less than others, and in addition to that, she also says that darker-skinned black women marry men of lower social status than light-skinned black women. Oh, there's a bit of colorism there. I don't know if we want to go into the colorism debate, but right. So these are the questions that I'm posing to you, Mark. I would like for you to answer first, but before Mark answers, I would just like to say this: during my time spent working as a college assistant a few years back at Queensboro, I remember there was a janitor there. His name was Mark too, actually.
Oh man, don't put that on me.
Yeah, I'm not. So his name was Mark, and he came from the projects, from the 40 projects in Queens, which is a pretty rough place for anybody. Shout out to Queens. Anybody who knows Queens well, 40 projects is no joke. And so I remember.
I think we should say shout out to 40 just in case.
Yeah, shout out to 40. Shout out to 40. We don't want no problems. We love y'all. If you're listening, if this is the podcast for you, shout out to y'all. If y'all try to level up, we all try to get there. So he told me that, when he got into a relationship with his wife, everything was good, everything was dandy, but she was very ambitious. She was a school teacher. Go figure. She was a school teacher, and then eventually she decided to go back to school to pursue her master's in education, and then as well as pursue her admin. And now, if I'm not mistaken, they have a daughter that's, I think, probably at this point is probably in 3rd, 4th grade, and his wife, the mother, she now is a principal at a school, I think a charter, but she's definitely in principal. And I remember one time they got into a heated argument, and they were going back and forth, and she said to him, "I got a master's, what you got?" And that right there, if you're a man and you know the ego, that right there I'm sure crushed him. I was so surprised that he told me that bit of information. I couldn't believe that he was that open of a book, but I thought it was interesting. So again, Mark, so you heard the statistics, you heard the quotes from The Guardian, and again, are black men afraid of a black woman's success, whether it's in work, politics, spirituality, any sectors of fields, and even in approaching them? What do you think?
I'd say it's possible. I mean, if someone is of a lower, let's just say same situation. If someone's a janitor and they're looking to get involved with someone that's, like you said, someone with a master's degree and other advanced degrees, it will be a bit intimidating because the male always sees himself as the provider.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you be a provider when your woman's already taken care of? That could be the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
How could I provide when she has everything she needs? Then that becomes a problem because the male only sees his value in his income, not his, mentorship or just being there for her. So that's the problem. We tend to look at our income as our true value. So he's going to feel intimidated. He's not going to want to be involved because he wants someone he can care for, not someone who's already taken care of. Because then he says, well, where's my role? What do I do if she's all good? One thing go wrong. If I don't take out the trash one day, she's going to throw it in my face that she has 3 degrees. So it's something like that. For me personally, I'm not intimidated because we all know degrees just a piece of paper. It's just how it is. I mean, I would rather have a strong partner that I can build with, whether she's equal to me or above me. But yeah, a lot of guys would be intimidated and they would avoid someone of that, of that notoriety with degrees and high-paying job, because there's a lot of people with degrees and no job. So it's interesting.
Ladies.
I think it depends. I once went to a forum. I watched a panel, and like 5 good brothers, well acclimated, well acclaimed brothers. They all were like, I've never been intimidated by a woman. And I thought it was interesting. I sometimes wonder if intimidated is the right word. I think it shows up in different ways. So like how Mark had brought up how it's like they see their value in their income as opposed to like true companionship and like what companionship means. I don't know. I really think though it depends on the brother. I've dated a guy that cared. I've dated a guy that didn't. I dated a guy that said he didn't care, and that turned out to be a lie when I started paying for stuff. I feel gender roles, I guess, has gotten us there. I try to be someone that's not huge on gender roles, but then at the same time, like there are some things that feel really traditional to it that you want to kind of keep and hold on to, but then you start slipping into what gender roles look like again. And so I feel like men were brought up in a way in general where it's like, you are either, whether it's from like a religious perspective, where they're the head of the household, or just, you're a man, so, you take care of stuff, be the man, and whatever it means to be a woman, then on the opposite side of that, anything that challenges that, seems to be, for some men, very difficult that's a big pill. It's like a horse pill, you kind of get them to swallow.
Yeah.
I do not think that, I don't think overall men are intimidated by a more successful woman. I think that, from my opinion, just kind of looking at black women overall and in my friend circles and friend circles that I've witnessed close to me, there can be a sense of, I don't want to say arrogance, but I think like when you said the example of the lady saying like, I have a master's degree, like that really pierced. Like it pierced me, and I wasn't even just she broke code.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to me, but I think that's there bubbling under the surface. The more like the statistics show the degrees and how we're super successful right now. Black women are like the #1 entrepreneur group right now, and we're hot and we're making all this money and we're doing all this thing. And so naturally, we're feeling ourselves as a group. We are, we are in control, we're in command, and finally we're in demand. Like, people think we're beautiful, like our faces are more present on TV and in campaigns and media. We have a lot more, people who look like us on the front line and the main line, getting leading roles and stuff. So right now, as a whole, we're kind of feeling ourselves, and I think there's going to have to be, I think it's up to each black woman who is feeling herself to kind of check herself, and I don't mean to stop being ambitious or stop chasing their goals, but to make sure that that's not creating an ugliness in her, so that's not making her feel too haughty or too, to be arrogant, I guess. So I think that is what could turn a man off. It's this attitude of, well, I did this and I got this and I worked for this and what you gonna do. That, I think, is a turn off, but that has nothing to do with your ambition. I think it's that ugly attitude that sometimes can come with it, that can come with success. And in my experience, I haven't had too many issues with that. Well, I have had people say, like, oh, well, you could be a little mean, you could be dominant, you can be, etc. But I always just assume you just weren't the person for me because, you can only be who you are. So it's like, and I know I'm not a mean-spirited person or anything like that, and I'm a teacher, I have degrees, but that's not, I don't make 7 figures, so it's really not that much for you to be intimidated by. It's like, I think sometimes men can use it as a cop-out for not changing bad behavior or for not offering real pursuit. It's like, oh, well, she was, intimidating. No, sir. You just weren't willing to be authentic and, do other things because it's not all about income. Men can provide protection. They can provide peace. They provide companionship, love, support, the role of a father. Like, that's huge. Men provide so much more than just a paycheck every couple of weeks. So,
yeah. So,
that's my point.
Yeah. No, thank you. I thought that was a very enlightening point for sure. So I feel so bad. I've been airing out so many people that I know. I've been airing out their laundry on this show and over the past couple of weeks, and I really hope that this podcast doesn't blow up and people actually listen and tune in, because then I'm gonna have a lot of people that won't like me anymore. So
you need to do like the best man and start giving these people other names.
Yeah. I'm actually not gonna name drop this person here, but so I was talking to my sister this morning, and I have a cousin. We were actually talking about this cousin this morning because I was talking to my girlfriend today, and I was telling her what my cousin's ex-girlfriend did, and she did not believe it. She said, no, that is absolutely not true. And this is going to segue to my next point. So I have a cousin, and I recently saw this cousin a couple months back at a family event, a family function. This guy is this guy is the epitome of a I don't want to say he's not a womanizer for sure, but he loves women. Like, he's getting older, and you would think that he'd settle down, but he's still having fun and taking time to kind of just like enjoy his options. And he's definitely like the Trey Songz, Tory Lanez type. Like, he'll say all the right things you want to hear, and then there you are, just popping up in his arms, and slit eyebrows cut, light skin, brownish hazel eyes, the whole works. And so he recently told me at this family function a couple months back, or maybe it was a year ago, he recently told me that he was in a relationship, and I was really, really happy to hear that. He was in a relationship with this woman who was who had just wrapped up law school and got her and received her law degree. She received her law degree, but she didn't pass the bar, so I think she's going to end up passing it again. Taking it again to pass it. But I think either she was in her daytime work, she was either a financial or a data analyst, one of the two, financial or data analyst. But as of recently, they broke up. They're not together anymore. So my sister pretty much confirmed that they were together because my girlfriend wouldn't believe it. But apparently, I just couldn't believe that. I kind of found it hard to believe that she was with him because he works for the mail industry. We all get our mails delivered to us, right? So you tell me what that is. But he works for the mail industry, and she's a financial or data analyst, and I couldn't just fathom or comprehend how that worked. And so again, this is why my girlfriend couldn't believe it. So I say all that to say to you all, the statement or the elephant in the room within the black community is that a lot of black women are not successful, or let me rephrase that. A lot of successful black women, women that have careers, that are very well educated and well put together, that a lot of black women are not successful in dating and marrying someone on their level, which leads them to marry down. And I think Mark talked about it earlier in regards to social status, in regards to the janitor and his situation. But also, going back to that other article from The Guardian, darker-skinned black women marry men of lower social status than light-skinned black women. Now, I don't know whether you all want to use that within your responses or whatnot, but I thought that was very interesting. I thought that was very, 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 very interesting, and I think it's something to be made light of and to be spoken about. What do you all think? I'll start with Mark, since he said interesting, and then we'll head over to the women.
I mean, it sounds about right to me, when you said that, they have a harder time. I think you said darker skinned black women have a harder time finding. Can you repeat that again?
Yeah, sure, for sure. Darker skin. So Dream McClinton in the Guardian says that darker skinned black women marry men of lower social status more so than light skinned black women.
It makes sense. I just can't really wrap my finger on why it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I really can't explain that one. That's a tough one, but I understand it.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
So why don't we, it's fine. Why don't we go back to the year 2000 like Kobe and throw the alley-oop to Shaq in regards to these two women? Ladies, could you answer us and help us get out of this hole?
I mean, I'm kind of with Mark where it's like I don't necessarily know why. I don't know if successful black men, maybe it's actually a black man, not a black woman issue. I don't know. Where successfully black men or higher status black men are not quote unquote attracted to or do not want to be seen with darker skinned women, regardless of if that's a conscious thing or something that was ingrained in them and it's subconscious. I'm not sure, but I'm not surprised. If I had to go with a personal example, me and my man, we both brown and we both trying to get our money right, so I mean, we're on the same level. There is some balance to it, I don't know. But it's not a surprising thing. It's definitely unfortunate. But it's also it's not like 100% true either. Because I personally have seen different colored skinned people, particularly women, right, with this idea of marrying down or having to, like bring ourselves just, it's like, okay, it's like we're settling. It's like, all right, this brother's okay, he working, he's working. How about that? He's working. that works for me. I just need somebody who's working, good dude. And we've seen it in movies. I shouldn't even brought that up because now I don't remember the name of the movie with my girl Regina Hall, with Michael Ealy, and he was the chef, and like she's like trying so hard to like
Think Like a Man, I think.
There we go. Yes.
Right.
Like think that he's okay. He's a chef. He's got dreams, but I really like him. But some of this huge thing, it's like does that? It comes to, I guess it does for some people, many. Who is this person? If you're not doing this about money, if you're not dating this person about money, this relationship isn't about that, then is that how we get put in that position? Is he an ambitious, good, loving companion who just doesn't have, the status that you have? Black women are statistically the most ambitious people in the world, they say. And brothers, when we start talking about black men, those numbers supposedly look very different. Systemic racism starts coming up when we start talking about what black men can and cannot do and opportunities. But it's like, at the same time, is that an excuse when black women are supposedly at the bottom of that totem pole? I mean, there's a lot of things that, I want to know how many people they asked. I'm that person. Did you ask 10 women that?
That's
right. 10,000. So I'm curious. There's truth in it. But, yeah. Tag team, CT.
I think when it comes to the skin color part, in terms of dark women not being as successful at dating than marrying, I believe was the quote, men at their level or above, I think it could have something to do with confidence and perception. I remember having a conversation with an old friend of mine she's biracial, and she fits the kind of light skin, long hair, persona, like that, not persona, physical image. And she was criticizing me for not being confident in my dating life. She was saying, you don't really exude confidence, you don't ever seem sure of yourself, And she, she wasn't trying to be hurtful. She was trying to be helpful. Mm-hmm. And I listened to her for a while, and then I shared with her that the world hasn't really allowed me to be confident, and that in all her effort, she really believed that her confidence was just because she really believed in herself. And I kind of made it my point to bust her bubble a little bit, not to take away her confidence, but to let her know that you're confident because the world has always made you feel beautiful. And of course you feel good about yourself when you've been consistently, accepted as a form of beauty among many cultures, not just in the Black community, but even the white community will look at you and say, oh, I'd date her too.
Wow.
So, and we kind of had to have a real moment where she kind of, she stepped back and processed it. And again, I wasn't trying to be mean, but I think that in the past, particularly, I believe it's getting better now, the darker your skin, you were just less attractive. And so it's just taking time for women to finally feel confident and really put themselves in circles and really believe that they can attract the type of mate they want. I think there's a lot of internal work that still needs to happen.
Yeah.
And that could be maybe why the statistic shows the darker skinned women dating down. I believe it could be just internal work based on years of us not being accepted or desired. And so, and then in terms of, I believe the other part of your point, Kev, was just in general, Black women dating down or marrying down. Or not wanting to, or you mentioned Regina Hall, and I think it was Taraji's character who had this long list. And I think that's something that a lot of Black women deal with. You make all this money, you want an equal. You don't want to make somebody feel that, yet you don't feel like you have the tools to attract the mate you want. And then to piggyback on what we discussed earlier, I believe Mark was talking about the system being rigged, and I believe that's part of it. The rise of the Black woman dominant. Not that we can't be dominant and successful and wonderful and ambitious, because we are, but I do think there's a little bit of, a design there where we, can access more, have more, do more, be more, grow more than our male counterparts. I think it's a really deep, deep issue there.
Yeah, I think there's just so much there.
Guess
I'm
gonna have to do episode 7.
Yeah, ladies. This convo thus far has been mind blowing. We're definitely going to bring you on for a part 2. I'm just trying to think of some other segue topics for another episode, because we're not realistically we're not going to cover everything today. But again, I want to be respectful of both of your times and Mark's time and everyone's times, and just to make sure that we're making this straight to the point and concise for the audience to digest. So I want to actually piggyback off of those topics that you both of you women brought up, and actually segue into our final question of the evening of today's show. And Mark, I'm going to pose this question to you first, because I really, really, really would like for the ladies to get the final word and the final say on this. This is a question that just came to mind, actually. Sometimes, questions come, and as I see fit, I try to, insert them within the discussion. The question to you three is, so we bring up Think Like a Man, right? And Taraji's character, being courted and pursued by Michael Ealy's character, who is the chef, right? And she's like this CEO, and she's this business savvy woman. She's doing great things, right? And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, before I ask this question, wasn't his character ambitious? Wasn't he trying to open his own restaurant, if I'm not mistaken, from that film?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then I want to also bring in Issa's character from Issa Rae, from Insecure, and as well as Lawrence's character from Insecure too. And Mark, if you've never watched Insecure, it's a really, really great show. I suggest you watch it. I think you'd like it. There's aspects of business in there, relationships. I'll just put it perfectly. It's a great thing to watch with your girlfriend. I think both of you guys would like it, and you guys will argue about it. Me and Danielle have argued constantly from watching that show. We've given different points. But so the reason why I bring all this up is because in Insecure, right, first season, everything is going well between Issa and Lawrence, but then things start to go on a downturn when Lawrence loses his job and ends up sitting on the couch for like 3, 4, 5 months. But then Lawrence has this business idea. I forget, it's been a long time since I've seen that episode in season 1, but Lawrence has this business idea that he thinks can generate and garnerate millions and really be profitable and put him on. Like, he has like this tech idea, you know, and he's a very technological, savvy guy, and I think he got his degree in engineering and computers and whatnot, and he has like this inventory idea, like this invention that he wants to create to really put him on, and he keeps telling Issa this, but Issa's losing patience because, you know, she works at a nonprofit, she's doing her thing, she's working at this school and schools within the community, and, you know, she's a boss in her own way, you know, she's doing her thing, and then you also have her best friend, her Molly. You know, Molly, if I'm not mistaken, works for a business company, a marketing company, and is doing really well. But Molly herself, you know, she has trouble dating men because men keep running away from her because she comes on too strong and she's very successful, you know, or whatever the case may be. And then you go back to again Michael Ealy and Taraji's character. So I know I'm rambling, but the reason why I bring this up is because I wanted to know. Final question. Are black men on the clock in the regards of a relationship when they are of a lower status to black women? Again, so the question is, are black men on the clock in regards to what they bring to the table as a male, as a provider, when they are in a relationship with a black woman who is of a higher class or a higher social status? Mark.
I think absolutely, because you know, people's patience wears thin. People want to build a family, so a lot of just women in general aren't willing to wait forever for you to build your castle, because she's ready to, you know, have children, raise a family, show her mother that this was a good idea, you know. So it's like, if you have an idea, or you're an entrepreneur, or, you know, whatever you're doing, and you're not progressing, most women in general, not just black women, will eventually, you know, lose patience and have to walk away. Because, you know, just as, you know, the time is taking for us to be successful, the time is taking for her as well. Because if she's on a certain level, she's ready to build a castle, and you're still not ready with your half of the, you know, the participation. It's gonna be complicated, and most of the time, yeah, the patience definitely wears thin, and they end up splitting. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like it's harder to believe the black man when he says he's building something. You know what I mean? It sounds like bullshit a lot of the time. And it not always is. Yeah. But I feel like us as black men, when we say something or we have an idea or, you know, vision, it's taken with a grain of salt. It's like, all right, let's see what you can do, and if they don't produce anything in a short amount of time, you know, they're going to start to look crazy amongst their community. So it's true. It's very true on both sides. Wow. In my opinion.
Yeah. Ladies, you both have the final say.
I lost my train of thought. I agree with Mark though. Because I'm multitasking. Yeah, so you go ahead and go first.
Sure. So, I really like that question, Kev. First of all,
thank you.
I like this phrase, on the clock. I think that is the perfect phrase to describe what happens. And I think it's totally accurate, and I never realized it until you said it. But sometimes when people, well, I'll say it like how you said it, I won't say when people. When women enter into a relationship with a man, and he does not have his castle, to use Mark's word, he does not have his castle, he does not have his, you know, savings, he's not ready to pay for a house or a wedding, any of those things. He is in fact on the clock. I think that's what it is. You are watching and waiting and checking your time to see if in fact he is going to produce anything that you feel is worth sticking around for. And I think women do this, whether they realize it or not, partly because of our own biological clock. That's ticking. That's a whole other issue. You know, black women are not getting married, so, you know, every year we get older, and it gets harder and harder to achieve some of us, to achieve our dreams of being a mother, for those of us who wish to mother children. So I agree. I think men are on the clock. And to kind of dig into your examples, you talked about like the Issa character and the Lawrence. He definitely was on the clock and his time ran out. I don't know. His time ran out. And it wasn't just because, and I don't want to spark another argument because you argue with your girlfriend about it already, but it wasn't just because he was on the couch. I just want to make this clear. It wasn't just because he was on the couch unemployed, working on his app and having this dream of money. It was because he lacked effort or care. He missed her entire birthday, and like he just. Women are very forgiving. If you keep up with the basic stuff, you'll get a lot more out of a situation. Like he just completely became a zombie. But I will say Issa was 100% wrong. She should have broken up with him rather than cheating. She should have just walked away because cheating is just a trash move for anybody to do. But I think that men, if you are at a lower socioeconomic status and you're dating a woman above you, you are in fact on the clock. So you better pay attention. You better download an app, figure out what you need to do, set a yearly goal, quarterly checkpoint, and report back to that woman and let her know the progress you are making. If in fact you want to be married to her, I think that could be the title of a book. On the clock. Like, that is the perfect phrase.
Yeah. You know what I realized, everyone, just by this beautiful conversation we've been having tonight and just kind of just like going back and forth in regards to what we've been talking about, and how our perspectives might differ or be the same, in regards to women and how ambitious they are and just everything in the whole works. I'm 28, I'm soon to be 29, and my girlfriend, she's soon to be 31, in a few months.
Still ain't 30, Carol?
Yeah, well, I got a year. I got a year before that happens. I got a year in a month until that happens. But yeah, what I'm starting to realize, this conversation made me very uncomfortable. I should have never asked that question. I just realized I'm on the clock. I'm on the clock. Gosh, man. Yeah, I'm on the clock right now. Literally, I was like, hey, babe, I'm thinking about starting a podcast. And she was like, that's good. She said, one thing next to Flowered Concrete. She was like, okay. She was like, what do you see for it? What's the vision? I was like, educate, the millennials out there and to give them, some ideas of wisdom, on the path to success. And then she was like, that's really cool. She was like, I believe in you. And in my head, I was like, does she really? I was like, oh shoot, I think I might be on the clock here. And then, and you know what,
don't be a Lawrence.
Absolutely.
Christmas is next month, right?
You know
Christmas is coming up.
Oh yeah. You know when I realized for sure that I was on the clock though, for sure. Again, I'm saying all these things, I'm professing my visions to her and all these great things I want to do. But it wasn't until over the past couple of months, she's just been showing me all these rings. I'm like, dang, I'm really on the clock. Oh my gosh. But no. I would just like to say, before Mark and I thank you for coming on, men of the wise community, all of the wise guys out there, if you know that you have a plan for yourself, and you're working towards those goals, whatnot, and a woman is constantly talking about marriage, that it's a good thing to be on the clock, man. I'm telling you, that means she sees something in you, and things are hopefully headed towards a good direction. So I just wanted to put that in there. But ladies, before we close out, Mark and I have this segment called Word to the Wise. Word to the Wise. So with Word to the Wise, you give one word and then a brief, very, very, very brief explanation as to why that word is wise and what the audience can get from it. So we want to save you for last. Mark, you want to go first? What is your word to the wise, to the wise community today?
That's interesting. My word to the wise, I'm just going to freestyle here. Just do you, if you feel like you're on the clock, break the clock, because it doesn't matter if you're not ready and she wants you to be ready, you can't force it. If she's gonna leave, let her leave.
That's real.
You can't let someone halt your success because you think you're on some type of clock. If I have a vision that takes 10 years and you can only wait 5, bye. Because my wealth, my success, my riches is sacred for me and my family for, you know, generations and generations from now. So if you want to interrupt that by putting me on a clock, you gotta go.
Yeah. Excellent.
Throw the clock away, because right now you're putting pressure on a situation that doesn't need pressure. I don't need pressure while I'm building my dynasty. If you're gonna nag me, you gotta go.
Oh, excellent.
And it's like, why are you waiting for me? You know what I mean?
Right.
If you have enough to build a castle, you build it for us. I'll be there in a minute. Just let me build what I got. And try to build it yourself then. You know? So yeah, that's it. That was a lot of words to the wise, but
no, it's cool. So
it's just, you know.
No, for sure, bro. You're good. My word to the wise, I'm actually going to play devil's advocate to Mark. And to reiterate my last point, my word to the wise out there, especially the fellas, wise guys. This word is there for you. Embrace. That's my word to the wise. Embrace the clock. Mark says, you know, F the clock, forget about the clock. I say embrace the clock, because if this is a woman you truly are fully invested in, and you really see yourself spending time and settling down with her and starting a family and being all that you can be, embrace it. And I can only speak from my perspective. You know, Mark and I are two totally different guys that clash a lot of the times. But I'm saying embrace the clock, because, you know, I don't think my girlfriend put me on the clock, or maybe she has and I didn't realize it. But I want to step up. I want to be the man that wants to do right. I want to be the man that stays loyal and faithful to his family and sets a precedence and the right example for his future son or daughters, and son and daughters, whichever occurs. And so I want to embrace the clock, because I want to make sure that I'm doing everything within my power to lead us to success, or at least if she's doing better than me, similar to what Mark said, you know, play my part. You know, I'll beat Kobe and you can be Shaq, you know, but I just wanted you to know that I have something to offer and to give of substantial value as well. So that's my word to the wise. Ladies?
Indeed. I would say love. And I know love is a very broad word, but just in the mindset of leading with love and acting in love, love of self, love for self, extending that love to others. When you lead with love, I think a lot of this, regardless of if things go the way that you expect them to, they go the way that they are supposed to. So in all aspects of the things we are talking about, whether it's the relationship aspect, if you're leading with love, then, you know, clock or no clock, it will go in the direction it is supposed to. If we're talking about these ambitious black women, dark-skinned women that are marrying down, that love of self, she's got to know and love herself. Whatever aspect you can talk about, if you lead with love, it really ends in a much more harmonious and purposeful place. So that's my word.
Excellent.
And my word for the wise is a double word, and it's divine feminine. And I chose those words because that's been my challenge, being an ambitious woman, is to make sure that I'm not going so far away from the divine feminine energy that I can be masculine or appear mannish. So for me, that's an important word for this topic, to make sure that we as women don't let go of all the power that is granted to us in the divine feminine energy, all because we're hustling and goal chasing and doing things that used to be more masculine. So divine feminine energy is my word today.
I love it. Ladies, oh my gosh, I'm sure, you know, Mark feels this way as well. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I think the wise community got a lot of perspective and gems from you both. So thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, for sure. And to all you other fellow wise gals out there, if you truly appreciated what you heard today for today's episode, The Ambitious Life of Women, please be sure to give both Anais and Theresa a follow. Ladies, where can the people find you online, just in case they would like to leave a comment or share a message? We always encourage our listeners to leave a comment, to DM you, and to tell you what they think and give you their feedback and their perspective in regards to the show and the topics in general.
I got the spell to do mine. Okay. So my Instagram is at Anais Leom, ANAISLEOM, like Michael. Kevin is going to put that somewhere.
Yes, I'll tag you guys. Yes.
How to spell it?
Yes, I will tag you both for sure.
And my Instagram is at Theresa Janai, TheresaJanai.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And before we wrap it up and close out right now, I just want to give a shout out, huge shout out, and I hope they listen to this episode. I want to give a shout out to the fellow, the other half of the LRTT Fellows group, all right, which is Tyshan Broden, all right, Tyshan Broden, our homegirl Tyshan. Tyshan, shout out to you in Dallas, Texas. She repping Dallas hard, Dallas, Texas, all right. That's our girl Tyshan. We miss you, we love you. yeah, we miss you. We love you. We hope to see you soon. Wait, is it Fort Worth? Well, Dallas, Fort Worth, same thing. And shout out to our other homegirl, Amanda Morgan, who speaks with a little Florida accent. Amanda, we miss you so much. I truly enjoyed Amanda's Florida accent, how she talked when we was in Ghana. It was great.
And her wardrobe, honey.
Oh yeah, her wardrobe was amazing, for sure. So ladies, we love to thank you so much once again for coming back on the show. And again, Mark and I don't know, we'll talk about it, but we're gonna have to try to figure out, to bring you guys back on in season 2 or something like that, because there's so much more that we need to talk about and we need to unpack. I've gotten so many ideas from this episode alone, and definitely we'll for sure we'll have to do this again for sure.
Absolutely. Shout out to season 2.
Yeah, for sure. So, ladies and gents out there, wise guys, wise gals, that's our show. Please do not forget to follow us on Instagram if you have not been following already. It is Wise Guys NYC. Also, if you'd like to email us directly and give us a comment or a word, or if you have a question, we haven't had our segment in a while, our Yearning for Wisdom segment, but Mark and I would love to get back into it, answering your questions. Please be sure to email us at wiseguysnyc@gmail.com. Again, wiseguysnyc@gmail.com. Our podcast is available on all streaming platforms, wherever you find podcasts available. Apple, Spotify. We're going to put it up on YouTube, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, the Anchor app. If you don't have the Anchor FM app, you could directly find us there, wherever podcasts are available, okay? So once again, that's our show. Our next episode next week for episode 7, we're going to be talking about love yours, all right? Love yourself in an infinity of ways of being masculine. And we have a very, very, very special guest. This guy is going to blow you away, all right? But we'll talk about that at another time, all right? So once again, this is your boy, Kevin Unglad.
And I'm Mark Pruitt.
And we are joined by our very, very, very special guest.
Anais.
And
Theresa Harrison.
Excellent. And again, we are the Wise Guys Podcast, all right? We'll see you next week.
Stay wise. Break the clock.